part is my favorite part. It's all about safety risk management and kind of a review of that. And so my name is Allison Cooney. As you guys already know, I'm part owner of Skydive Vancouver Island. I do have a CSPA Coach 1 finally. And I'm on 3 of the 6 committees, or well, there's more than 6 committees in CSPA, but I'm on 3 of them. So I'm going to dive right in. As you can see from that lovely picture with my handle, I had 2 lovely high-speed malfunctions just recently in Arizona. Not quite back to back, but there was a lovely jump in between them where I made bad decisions and hurt my ankle. So 3 jumps, 3 crazy things, but whatever. I'm here and I learned from my experiences, and hopefully everyone else will too. I decided this year not to go through. We often show the emergency video. We do the high speed, we do the low speed malfunctions. We show what they look like. I'm not doing that this year. I do strongly recommend everybody. If you don't have the links, I'll put them on here after we're done the thing for these. I believe it's the Australian Gord. Is it Australian Parachuting Association that did do these? They're fantastic. The decision-making process one is also very good. So these are the 3 links for those. And just, it doesn't matter how much experience you have as a skydiver, watch these videos. I know that our novice jumpers, if you're on here, we make you guys watch them. We will make you watch them again if you haven't jumped in a while. But they're good refreshers to remind yourself of. And we'll talk why, even as an experienced jumper with lots of jump, we tend to get more complacent. We tend to think we can fix things, those kind of things, without just really recognizing time is not on your side. So, oh, Danny, thank you, Danny. You've been great posting these links all night. So Danny just posted the links on the side. Strongly recommend you guys watch them. I'm going to go straight into the CSPA AIM summary reports and just kind of a highlight of what's been happening. What we saw in 2023. For those of you who are not familiar with AIM reports, I know some of you jump at different drop zones and stuff like that. USPA and CSPA, we all have AIM reports. They are to capture accidents, incidents, and malfunctions. Very typical, obviously, we see the student ones, we see when accidents happen. Some of that's because of liability insurance and those kind of things. But I really want to stress the importance of actually doing AIM reports for incidences. And so we'll talk a little bit about this later, but I can talk about it now. But obviously an accident is an accident. Something happened, there was an accident, you had to go to the hospital, or there was some kind of medical attention was given, broken ankle, whatever it be. That's one thing. The incidences are actually what we really want to look at to help prevent accidents and fatalities. We want to start looking at the trends. What is happening? How do we need to change things, be it in our coaching programs, be it in CWC with the CWC learning materials, those kind of things. We don't get that just from having the few accidents that we have year after year. We get that from the incidences because we can see those trends. With equipment, different types of canopies, we track that information. It is confidential. Nobody knows who it is, what drop zone it's from, those kind of things. But we can look at canopy types. We can look at, age. We can look at all of those types of things. And it's very valuable information. So I encourage all of you on here, if you have something that happens that's not normal, or that you had to fix, or it's an unusual situation that could have resulted in an accident, even though you might have fixed it or whatever, fill out an AIM report. It's going to benefit us down the road. And that's the important thing that we need to get from this. Danny, I think, was going to post we've been tracking this now since 2014. It's gone through some major changes over the last 5 years, but it's actually this past year gone through another big change. Danny can post the safety management system reports, all the summary. Going forward, starting for 2024, we will see these AIM reports, the data that you can gather, which is what happened, what a drop zone safety officer, what they kind of recommended or what the root cause was, and then where you can find materials or the CSPA recommendations of where you can find materials to maybe, flare better. Those types of things. We're reporting that instead of waiting till the very end of the year. We're actually going to be reporting them. We're trying to commit to a monthly. Obviously, there hasn't been that many incidences, or they've all been mine pretty much at Arizona. But you're going to start seeing the ones from January through to the end of March will be posted here in the next couple weeks. So we're going to be posting these regularly on the CSPA website, so you guys can get the information on that. USPA, they also post it, usually monthly. So we're kind of trying to follow suit, and we do collaborate with the USPA to look at bigger numbers and bigger trends. So last year, just really briefly, we had 79 AIM reports that came in. 16 were tandems, 15 were students, 48 with the experienced skydivers. There were no fatalities, but for the grace of God. And nothing was related to the aircraft. So just going to be very blunt. Landing is the biggest thing that happens. I'm going to look specifically to students, but it also is the #1 issue for injuries and incidences for students and experienced jumpers. You can see here that 40% was related to flaring, and GCI was lack of responding. So really important to note, if you're a GCI on here, stay current. It's very, we want to make sure that we're communicating with the students. What are they prepared for? Are they prepared if the radio doesn't work or your other techniques aren't working? Can they land themselves? Another thing that I want to note on here specifically, it was under the students, but it's something for all jumpers to note. 2 incidences occurred because people lost consciousness while they were under their canopies. And the root cause came down to they were not hydrated enough and there was poor nourishment. A lot of it came to the intermediate fasting that's going on. I can't say it. Intermediated, whatever. Anyways, the fasting. If you are one of these peoples who does do the fasting program, make sure that you're, watching the activities you're doing. There's a lot of mental and physical exertion on skydiving. Staying hydrated is important. Again, you could lose consciousness. Fortunately, these guys landed okay, and nobody was seriously hurt. So just make sure we're looking at that. And then for experienced jumpers, same thing. Landing was the big one. Although it is important to note, in 2023, we did see 2 separate accidents related to the in-air collisions. Obviously, Beth did a phenomenal job talking about mid-air collisions and what that looks like and how dangerous they are. There was one at our drop zone. I know that's, common knowledge. 3 of the 4 jumpers, 2 different occurrences, AAD fired and saved their lives. There was the second occurrence was a big way wingsuit at the planned break off. 4 of the jumpers decided to continue on and go against the plan. 2 of them lost sight of each other, and those 2 wingsuiters did collide. Both unconscious, AAD fires, and the details of that and some of the findings and recommendations, again, you can find in the 2023 AIM reports summary analysis. So AADs save lives, super important, #1. #2, planning jumps and everything that Beth talked about and everything that everyone's talked about here, they're important. Don't just dismiss it. Don't, safety is first. And I know that sometimes I'm like the fun police, but there's reasons. We want everyone to have fun, but we want everybody, walking away at the end of the day as well. So those are important things to note. And so as a result of some of that, there's some things that are being looked at from CSPA and our drop zone as well. And I will talk about that a little bit later. So just finally, as far as emergency procedures, just be very careful of complacency. One of the things that in talking to some more experienced jumpers, they were having some issues with some of their canopies or noticing different things, and they were finding like they were trying to fix it or do this. I had a video. Unfortunately, it wasn't on this computer. I did have permission from this jumper, but upon opening is just, you know, their the leftover lines weren't stowed properly. It ended up going through, and then they created basically a knot right in their brake line. And so it's all the housekeeping stuff. We get really quick, we get complacent, we just kind of take things for granted. I've heard now 3 occurrences where people, you know, the parachute is opening up, you deploy, and then we put your hands up to go grab everything. 2 individuals I've talked to have accidentally knocked their toggle out, unstowed it. One being in a wingsuit that sent them into a high-speed spin, and they had to cut away. So just being very, methodical, and as people have said, walk through your plan, rehearse your plan mentally, physically on the ground, before doing it. But don't forget, those are all the steps as well. When you've had a malfunction, then what? So for us in particular at our drop zone, we ask that you do not chase your parachute. You landing safely is the priority. Don't get tunnel vision on where your parachute is or where your D-bag is. People on the ground will know you're having a cutaway. We watch for these things. We have drones we can send out later. Equipment is replaceable. You are not. And so, your priority is, if you can't get back to the drop zone, find a alternate safe landing spot. Do not be so wrapped up in where your equipment is that you are, especially at our drop zone, that you've got no alternatives but a whole bunch of trees. So just be mindful of that. If you are someone who does carry a cell phone with you on your jumps, call Manifest. It's really nice to know if you haven't landed back at the drop zone. It'd be nice to know that you are okay. If I don't hear from somebody, I'm assuming you might be injured, period. So that's an important thing as well. If you don't carry a cell phone, I know at our drop zone and many others, we're pretty much within a minute sending people out to go find you and go from there. Just get to a safe place if you can, and just kind of stay stationary. I know some people at our drop zone have gone to people's houses and phoned and stuff like that. But if you can get to a road where you're visible, that's the most important for us to find you. And then, of course, fill out your AIM reports. I don't care if you're CSPA, USPA, fill out an AIM report. We need to know malfunctions. We track this. We need to be able to go back to manufacturers if we need to. Like, these are important things, so make sure that all happens. And then, don't forget to kind of figure out what happened on your malfunction. Sit down, do a root cause, take it all the way back. On my malfunctions, they were both the same. I was told that you could never have a bag lock on a completely stowless D-bag. Guess what? I had 2. And so obviously after the first one, we thought maybe a packing issue. It ended up not being that. And so there's a whole other investigation going into my gear itself. Anything is possible. Don't let people tell you otherwise. I did touch a little bit on the incident and accident, but again, tracking incidences is really important. It is truly what will help us hopefully save lives down the road. I'd like to track things before they become an accident. And if we can see trends within Canada, we also talk to USPA, I talked to Ron Bell. If we can talk to him with North American data, then it's super important. We can pool it together. For example, we noticed in 2022 when Ron and I got together that tension knots was becoming a really weird increased trend. And so we both started to address that within our countries. Together we have great data. So please, incidents are just, if not equally more important than just reporting accidents. Again, AADs are no joke. I know someone is on this call because an AAD saved his life. Make sure you include them as part of your gear check. At our drop zone, they are mandatory. And just more specifically, for our drop zone, and I know this is kind of, I tend to talk about, we want to be more general on this, but in our drop zone, there are going to be changes to movement jumps specific to track and angle and what those minimum requirements to participate in those are. However, I really want to stress that all of our presenters today talked about knowing your personal limitations, but also when you are learning a new skill or a new discipline, or you are progressing within a discipline, it is important to take the appropriate steps to stay safe. So, for example, I believe it was Beth, one-on-one, if she was learning to backtrack, go with a coach, start to learn that, be a little bit, maybe you're doing a couple of them on your own, making sure that your load knows and you're not tracking up jump run or anything like that. Then, slowly moving into more, small groups with really experienced leaders on that, and then slowly progressing from there. And again, for movement, for example, if you're increasing the angle, that should put you right back down to like one-on-one training again, because it changes the dynamics of the jump and it has a whole bunch of other safety things to be aware of. And that is, I've learned in belly jumps the same. It's one thing to do a 4-way, it's a whole other thing to do a 14-way or a 20-way. Far different things. There's changes in that. So progress gradually on your, the way you should, and be accountable to your own skill level and communicating that. Don't ever be afraid to communicate your personal skill restrictions and where you're at. The last thing I just wanted to talk about, at all drop zones, we should be creating a safe culture at the drop zone. And this just basically means, equality, equity, inclusion. So educate yourself around that. We've got lots of things that come out of skydiving, sayings and those kind of things, but just being really mindful to that. We've got, new generations coming in. Educate yourself. Be respectful at all times. And if you're not sure, talk to people at the drop zone that might have more information around that. We're all learning in very changing environments and climates. So, and I think that's it for me. Yay. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I don't see any questions. Perfect. The joys of safety. And don't forget to review your emergency procedures.